Hello, everybody. I hope that you all doing well. This is your host, Angie, from Religion to Woohoo, and I wanted to share some insights with you that I have come to understand in my own growth, and as I continue to work on raising myself into my highest self and becoming, the human that I know that I was meant to be as I came down to this earth. And one of the things I think that is really important about working or moving into your life calling is that we often spend some time looking around us and looking how other people are living their life and try to, in some way, mold ourselves into what we think has been influential or impactful through other human beings. So, for example, if I am attempting to build some kind of a business, maybe I want to be a baker or, something around there, or I want to be a professional gardener. I don't know. I could tend to look around and see what everybody else is doing and then try to mold myself into that person that seems to be, what inspires or what I would consider to be influential, I guess, or successful or profitable. And instead of going inward and finding my own purpose and divine way of doing it and living out that purpose without really feeling the need to compare or relate myself to another human's purpose, I'm able to move more freely into what I am, the influence I am supposed to have on the earth. And so I think the hard part about this is oftentimes, sometimes I see things happen sometimes. If you've gotten my book yet and you've started to read it, I talk in the book about the line, how we all tend to be in some kind of a line. And when you're in the line, you don't really even know it. You kind of are just blindly following along with the other humans and the same kind of, understanding of everything around you. And your mind is kind of molded into, this is the way you live your life. And this is what I should believe. And this is how I should present myself and show myself. And this is where I'm supposed to live. And we get stuck in this, mentality that we have, this is our place, this is our line. And then when you start to break out a line, you realize how much more there is outside of it. I mean, even just the fact that if you wanted to, you could leave, you could move, you could leave your hometown. There's a lot of people that stay in the same place their entire life because they feel as if that is all they are meant to do or can do. And I'm not saying that, that is what you have to do. You have to uproot everything and move or leave or anything. However, it's just one example of how we kind of get stuck in this mentality of I have to be this person. And usually it's based on what you think other people want you to be, especially your family. There's part of me that, I've been living in my home for 11 years, almost, it'll be 12, this next year. And when I bought this house, I really didn't ever see myself ever leaving. And I really spent a lot of time fixing it up and making it look nice in the way that I can. And I became attached to it, almost as if this is mine. I'm going to keep it until I leave the earth. This is my property. This is where I'm going to pay this off and live here. And this is just going to be who I am. And over the years, as I've begun to move out of this mindset that I need to stay in this line, I have come to understand that I don't even want to stay here. Like, honestly, like, I have begun to, take vacations. Like, I go by myself places and experience different parts of the world around me. And I notice how my energy feels in these places. I notice how I feel more aligned with myself when I go into some of these places. And if, I had a friend that taught me one time that, our astrology signs kind of can show us different places on the earth that our energy is aligned. And I found that so interesting because there's a place that I love to visit. And whenever I'm there, I just feel good. Like, it's just this, like, there's a freeing feeling inside of me. And as I've learned more, I've realized, like, this is, like, instead of staying in this little mindset that this is where I'm supposed to be because this is where I was born, like, I might actually feel better somewhere else. So that I'm not, this is not a move uproot kind of like, that's not my point in this. However, what I want to say is that I truly 100% believe that we all have a divine calling and purpose in our life. There is something we are meant to do to impact the earth. Our lives impact other humans, whether we want to believe it or not. The way you show up will impact another human. And, as those that have read my book now understand some of the trauma I've been through, and I will be 100% honest, I'm still working through it. It is still very hard to manage some of those triggers that come up based on some of the things I went through. And I did not reveal a lot of things in the book. I mean, I shared a lot, but I did not reveal half of the things that, happened or even continue to happen. And so I found, and even now I find myself like trying to put a wall and protect that part of my life because it's, that's the box I'm kind of living in still, and things knock up against it and they expose my triggers. And I really, my greatest desire is to expand this box so that that trigger point that I have is no longer impacting me where I keep myself small. Because like I just said, I believe there's a purpose and a reason for our spirits to come to the earth. And I know for myself, I want to live it. I want to live as my highest self. And what is really interesting about moving into your highest self and then living your impact on the earth with other humans and Mother Earth and everything is that some people, and you may see this in celebrities or like people that are very influential already. They tend to have a following. Like, people kind of like worship or they'll follow them and want to know what's going on. And it's not a bad thing, but you kind of lose yourself when you're following another person and being impacted in a way that you focus a lot on that instead of like where you're supposed to be. And as I move into my highest self, my desire is not to create a following. My desire is to create an impact, which then allows people to move into their purpose and into their understanding without having to have anything to follow. Now, there's a divine guidance that we have. There's a divine way of doing things, and there are people that are influential that are going to come into your life and help guide you. But, I truly believe, like I mentioned in my book, that we're each individuals growing and changing, and we're not here to shift ourselves into what other people think we should be. And when you start to become more aware of your own self, become aware of your consciousness, feeling empowered within yourself, suddenly the switch changes where you realize that you are an individual that has divine energy and power within it. And when I say power, I don't mean like domineering power. I mean love. Love is the ultimate power there is, period. And we don't even know what that love is. Like, that is our purpose, is trying to get into that love. And so as we start to rise into that and understand our abilities and increase our understanding of how divine our spirit is, how divine we are, how much influence do we have in this earth, we can move into this understanding of, this is my purpose. This is what I am meant to do. And that is not comparing it to anybody else. That does not mean that you are going to start a podcast. That does not mean that you are going to be a painter if you don't paint. That does not mean you're going to write a book if you have no desire to write a book. But don't force yourself to want to do these things because you see somebody else doing it and they're being influential. And so you want to try to mold yourself into that because you want to be impact. The reason you're trying to do that is because your spirit knows that you have an impact and an influence on this earth. But that's not in shape shifting yourself into somebody else. That's in finding your purpose. And something I often see happening in my life is I will do something. And this is not like something that is against anybody. So I want to make it very clear I'm saying this in love. I will do something and I will watch people start to do it as well. And I don't know if people realize I see it. Like I will post something on social and all of a sudden everybody else is doing it. I will take a solo hiking trip and somebody else will start to do it. And these are amazing things that I want it to happen. I want that to happen. But I want you all to do it in your own divine self. Not because you are trying to do anything else like somebody else. If you are a huge fan of, here's an example. You know how kids are so influenced by stars. So if you have a kid that is like super into like football or baseball or basketball, they're going to pick a star. I did this when I was little. I had this, oh gosh, there was a player, I will tell you, just a side note. When I was younger, I was like, really into basketball. I just wanted to be like the best basketball player ever. But there was a player that at the time, I look back and giggle at this, but he played for KU, the college here in Kansas. And oh my gosh, I thought he was the cutest ever. I was like 15, 16, somewhere around 14 around there. And oh my gosh, I was in love. It was like the most wonderful. I wanted to be him. And so when I played basketball, I tried to play like he did. And this player was like very like, oh my gosh, he would like dive after the ball and like risk his body and like all this stuff. And so that's what I did. Like I remember one time I was like running down the court and the ball was going out of bounds and I'm like, I'm going to save it. And so I dove to save it and I like knocked over all these chairs and I was like, yeah, so cool. I'm like this guy. And so that's shape shifting. And that's, a normal thing for a kid to do because they're trying to find themselves. But as you move into your adulthood, as you move into your understanding of what your true gifts are, and maybe you don't really even know what they are, and that's what you have to work at. You don't need to start doing things like that where you're running down the court and jumping out of bounds and landing on chairs just because you think it's cool. And then, next day you can't walk. But like that is what happens a lot. And what is sad about that is as you're trying to move into that where you're kind of being influenced by somebody else, it doesn't mean you don't do something that doesn't look like somebody else. You can absolutely be doing the exact same thing as somebody else, but don't try to be that. Be yourself in that. If you're really good at making bread, make bread, but don't try to make your bread like your neighbor Susie, who's selling bread at the farmer's market because you think that's so cool. Make your bread and do what you know that you're supposed to do with it. Use your recipe. Don't use hers. And If it's the same, then that's fine. But you're still not going to do it the same way. You're not going to knead it the same way. You're not going to, have the same shape. You're not going to make it the same. You have your own divine way of doing it. And so when you get that, when you start to do that, you can feel empowered in yourself. You can feel as if you are moving into the alignment of your true calling without having to compare. And when you quit comparing, when you quit trying to shapeshift or trying to look at other people's life, all of a sudden, all of the fear, all of the desire to be seen, all of the comparison, all of the insecurities start to fall down a little bit. We are human and we will always have something that pops up, but you will stand in your power. And if somebody says, I don't like your bread, I like Susie's bread, you can say, that is amazing. Susie has amazing bread. I've had it. It's so good. And I hope that you enjoy that, because that is what is meant for you. That is the bread that will feed you. But it doesn't mean that your bread isn't good too, and that it's not going to feed the people that it is meant to feed. Your sole purpose is to influence and impact the souls that you are supposed to impact, and the other person's is supposed to impact the people that they are supposed to impact. And if you are in your highest self, if you are aligning with yourself, that comes together and you find those people. And there's no striving in it. I think about how divinely set up it was that I found my therapist. It is so rare to find somebody that gets you and understands how to maneuver through your life, because they also have had many things. I mean, our lives are completely different. I've never been married, all these things. But there's this understanding there. And her impact is not my impact. Just because I think she's amazing and she's going to do all these amazing things in the world doesn't mean that I have to stay under that and do those same things. It means that I have this purpose and she's helping to guide me to it. And that's what other people are going to do. You're going to be divinely guided to people that are going to help shift you into what you are meant to be without having to compare what you are doing with somebody else. That is empowerment. That is living your purpose. That is loving yourself. That is allowing your frequency to rise into your highest self. That is your way of maneuvering through this life without feeling as if you have to keep yourself small. So, I don't know where you are. I don't know what is going on with you. Of course, I'm sure there might be people that listen to this that personally I've been able to talk to. Many people I haven't. But I want to send out to you the empowerment and the encouragement to begin to work on aligning yourself to your own divine soul purpose and understanding your gifts. And if you need help, please reach out. I would love to support you in this and help propel you into that without feeling the need to mold you into something that stays underneath me or around me or above me or wherever it is that you are at this moment, and come alongside you as another spirit that's working just like you to decrease my ego and become my highest self. And together we will empower, and you will empower just as mightily as anybody else around you. So I want to send out all the love of the universe to you today as you walk in your highest self. If you don't know how to do that, please reach out. I will help support you in that. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this. And if you would leave a review or a star or something and share the podcast so that we can reach some more people in this and help other people move into their divine purpose and calling, I would be so encouraged by that. I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is that you listen to this. Have a beautiful and wonderful day or night. Namaste.